So, welcome everybody to the second equity table. This table is very much about how you build your own financial freedom. I've got some awesome people that we'll get to in not so far from now. They're going to make the introductions, but let me give you a little bit of how it's going to go. It'll be a little bit different this time. I'm just going to set the scene. We're going to have a little bit of storytelling and everyone can absorb that. Then we're going to go and have an introduction, very quick, 1 minute, from Isaac, Christina, Karen, and Michelle. And then we're going to get into the meat to really share some key, authentic, why people have got into this area, what we do. So what does it mean you think about in terms of financial equity? And now what kind of recommendations you should be looking at. Before I get into that, a little bit about what this is and how we went about it last time. It's a very different kind of LinkedIn Live because rather than share a whole load of slides, of which there are some though, it's very much bringing you to this equal table to have a conversation as if you were having dinner with us. So you kind of get that insider chat on financial freedom. But in that same time, and I'll show you the disclaimer in the moment, especially around financial equity, it's for those purposes. If you want to actually get financial advice, I would definitely say go to Christina, go to Karen. We can't cover all of that at this point. But what I did want to do, before I come to you, all of you, introductions, I wanted to start with a little bit of storytelling and do something a little bit different. So bear with me. The storytelling itself is about a lady called Arlen Hamilton. And I hope, yes, we are streaming. I'm just checking if there's any technical difficulties. Not. Arlen Hamilton, if anyone knows her journey is really a testament to self-determination, it never being too late to start and to learn and educate yourself. And literally you can come from anywhere to have financial equity. She was homeless. She was couch surfing and a Black woman, queer. She really envisaged a future where there was financial equity. She envisioned beyond that, though. She envisioned a venture capital firm that would invest in underrepresented founders, people of color, women. I'm a key feminist, as many know, LGBTQ plus communities. But she didn't have any formal education. And there might be people listening, well, you don't have the formal education. You're just scared about what do I do? But she did then educate herself. She read, she listens to blogs. She went through all of that. And she really went from being on a blow-up mattress, her mother's apartment, and immersed herself in YouTube videos, tutorials, which I know Christina's being out, a whole video series, for example, on investing. She went through all of that. And despite a lot of rejections, because of her basically unwavering ability to be self-taught and to have this very bold vision that anyone can start from anywhere if you start investing yourself, she literally raised millions and launched what's called the Backstage Capital. It's a venture firm that has invested in over 200 underrepresented founders. She crowdfunded 5 million for everyday people, and we're talking multi-millions. So you can literally come from anywhere to the stage of where you yourself can create financial freedom. Whilst you might not end up creating your own VC fund, this really is to open up the dialogues. I want to come to the people we have today. I will throw up a slide so people know, but who would like to start? I'm going to offer up Karen. Go on, Karen.
Okay, let's go. So hello, everyone. I'm Karen Jo Thomas, founder of Karen Jo Thomas Financial Planning, and I'm based in Switzerland. I'm passionate about helping women create a life that reflects their values, aspirations, and potential. As a financial planner, I specialise in guiding women, particularly expats, through the complexities of building a solid foundation while living abroad. So to me, financial empowerment is not just about managing money, it's about freedom, it's about building confidence, and it's about fostering security so women can truly thrive. My mission is to help women embrace their financial power and take meaningful steps to create a life that they deserve. So through my life, I've seen how life challenges can really make women feel unsure about their financial security. So I'm here to help change that narrative by helping women to gain clarity, take control, and design their financial life. So thank you for listening.
And I'm looking forward to going into your story, because there was a key moment for you where you had enough, where it wasn't sufficient for women.
Yeah.
And that's the gap that you fill.
Yeah.
Misha, you want to go next?
Yes, more than happy to. So hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Jimmer, and I'm the founder of Equality Pays, which is a pay gaps consultancy. So what we do is we support organizations that have to report and measure their pay gaps. And our role is to help organizations make sense of what the data is telling them, and then to help organizations create strategies that actually mean something, and strategies that will actually make the difference in the workplace. And I often get asked how I kind of got into the space, and the answer is by accident. It totally was. And I think, the reason why this is so important is because there isn't much preparation for people to talk about money. We are prepared for the world of work, but I don't think we're prepared for the world of managing finances and having really good awareness around what our relationship with money is, and all the different ways in which we can use it for the things that we want in our lives. And so I feel that the work that I do is really important, because a lot of the onus around issues to do with pay inequity sits with organizations. Yes, individuals can do things for themselves, but really it's for organizations to get their house in order, as it were. So I feel that I'm doing my bit to help organizations do that. And then obviously we want individuals to take that financial awareness and education and do what they can for themselves and their communities as well.
And I'm literally so excited to have you, because you have these both perspectives. You have the top down driving from, the employers, because let's face it, that's part of equity creation, what you earn. And there's a lot of changes happening in that environment with the Equal Pay Act and so forth. But you also have the bottom up, which is, even recognizing pay gaps, advocating for yourself, but also personal experience. I know you bring a lot in. Living in Spain, immigrating, as many of us have, from different countries, you from the UK. So thank you. Isaac?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so my name is Isaac Kobi. I am based in Ghana. So I am a quality education advocate, and I am more specialized in digital skills and AI. So recently, I work to develop programs to enhance the digital skills and AI skills of over 500 Ghanaian teachers in underserved communities, over 5,000 students in the same underserved communities, and also 300 fresh graduates, so we can prepare them for the future, not only to prepare them, but also equip them with the tools to shape their future. Thank you.
And then last but not least, Christina. I'll mention a little bit about you in a minute, Isaac, but last but not least, Christina.
Yes, I would like to actually start with a question, right? And please, can we be a bit enthusiastic about it? Like, who here thinks that your money is working hard for you?
You want an honest answer from me?
I want an honest answer. Raise your hand if you think.
I think on some parts of my portfolio, and the reason I said that, you and I had a very honest conversation, and I reassessed some of my portfolio, that I might as well dig money into my garden, because they had changed the percentage on one of my investments, and I pulled it out. But I do think on some parts of my portfolio, my money's working hard. Do I think it could be working harder? Okay. Christina, I need your help. But it could be working harder. Anyone else?
Isaac raised his hand, so that looks good. No, basically, let me quickly tell you in 1 minute my background, right? By day, I'm helping millionaires in Europe. I was working 5 years in Asia. We call them, they're the billionaires, right? They have a few zeros more, helping families and individuals that are very wealthy to manage their wealth and reach their financial goals across also generations. And for me, it is at utmost importance to break this knowledge down, right? I want to reduce the barriers for women to go into finances, take care of their finances. And it must be possible to break down these concepts that very wealthy people work with, make them accessible to normal people like we here are in this group, right?
And I can't see your face at them. Oh, I suppose, no, actually they can see it because you're on portrait. It's just my view. That's fine. I can see you. And I love that. I love, so that let's also say that for me, I always think equity for all. It's not just about women. There's a reason we have Isaac here, so you're going to have to keep this true. But Isaac, you work also a lot with entrepreneurs, and I think it's about meeting people at any level. Christina, like A, your enthusiasm, but B, how you manage to take something that is quite elitist to the masses, right? This shouldn't be something that's elitist. Creating this equity is also about sharing this knowledge, although, you know, we're not financially advising today, but it's about sharing this knowledge and breaking it down. And Christina has an amazing program that she's just been recording in order to take it to the masses, because the more financial freedom you create for yourself, the more stability you have in the life, the more richness you're going to have in your life. And if you're projecting, as we're going to live longer, to, you know, 100, 120, we're certainly going to need those funds to have a quality of life. Right. Disclaimer, I think I've mentioned it all along. This session more is about financial education. It's making sure it's about the different lenses. But if you do need financial advice, please go to the different people on this call, for example. And I've got their details at the end. I've talked about the setup for today. And it's like being at a table. It's dinner time in a lot of places, or lunchtime if we go to the States right now. Or you might even join later, which is what happened with our last LinkedIn Live, where lots of people joined and came back to us and asked us for more. So we're kind of going to go around the table, but I'm actually, I might take the slides off in a moment because it's more about us. But we're going to go very much through this structure of, you know, what changed. So what do you do? The do's and don'ts for people from an education point of view, any benefits or drawbacks of the different elements that we bring to the table, and now what for you? And that's really the audience in itself, or it might be some next steps, because I know Karen, Christina, Isaac, I think you've got some financial literacy as well, launching and different things. There might be things that you want to share, or might be things that you want to impart. I will open up the table and dig a little bit into your why, as in what changed for you to get into this area. And I'm not going to be too static, because I'm people know me. Panels that you go, oh, would you like to speak? Yeah, just if you feel you want to speak, please do so. I'm sure we're not going to over talk each other, because we can always hang back if we've gone first last time. But who would like to share what was their why of even getting into this area?
Well, I can go first. For me, it was after 30 years in my profession, I came to the pivotal realization that women often face more unique challenges compared to men. So again, that could be from the gender pay gap, which we just mentioned, that we're living longer, we go through divorces, we're raising children, we just have so many different challenges that compared to men, and that often leaves women in a very vulnerable situation.
And
so for me,
seeing though, like, so what was the scary thing when you say, you know, divorces, pension? What was it that you were seeing that kind of spoke to you, that you were like, you know what, I need to be a different solution?
Yeah, I had a lot of feedback from women as an independent financial planner when going to the banks, that they were talked down to, that they were treated as if they didn't know nothing. that they were just left in difficult situations where, you know, again, they wouldn't have that kind of advice that men would have. So yeah, that was one realization. The advice that are often around investment is typically geared towards men. So again, different language communicated with women, and it just wasn't geared for women. So again, I had so many feedback, and again, working for financial institutions, working for independent financial advisory companies, I was often told women are a waste of space, that they don't invest. So that for me was, okay, if I really want to be part of this change, then I need to do something different. So that was my motivation. Again, you know, over the years, 30 years in my profession, it's not changing enough. I love that Christina's involved in teaching women about investing. I love the, you know, the power of women now saying, right, okay, we now need to help women get in these, build up their equity, build up their financial net worth, and feeling confident. For me, I've been investing since I was 21, so it's not rocket science to me. So yeah, that's my story. That was my motivation. I could go into more detail, but
no, we're going to go into that. But I think it's really important to let people know, because probably what they're feeling is real. If they're not engaged in it, or the language isn't there that they need to hear, or want to hear, or when you're being talked down to, and you just turn off. I mean, it happens not in finance, but just in accounting, and I do all of our numbers, and I even have from the accountant, I want to speak, well, I'll only deal with your husband. I'm like, no, you're dealing with me, but it will be in banks or in finances. And I think it's just a very realistic hurdle that women have to go through. So there's an advocacy part of it there, but maybe the sources that they go to change.
Yeah, for sure.
Lovely. Why? Who else would like to offer up their why? What were they hearing? Why did you even get into this space?
Sorry, I'll go. My internet's cut out and I had to restart, but I'm back. So what was the question about why we do the work that we do?
Why? What brought you into this space is the question.
I think, well, like I said before, it was completely by accident. I had started as an equal pay manager at the Equality and Human Rights Commission, and I remember being absolutely terrified of the role, because it was talking about money, and it was talking about discrimination in the workplace and being paid, less because you are, from a global majority background or you're a woman, and the conversations, they were frightening, and I really shied away from them for a long time. But I soon realized the power and importance of having even just a little bit of knowledge around, what is supposed to happen in workplaces and what employers' responsibilities are supposed to be, which sometimes is in conflict with how society tells you. So society tells you that you shouldn't really talk about money and that it's not a great conversation to have. But then your expectation is that your employer should be paying you fairly, but then that's not necessarily always the case. And I think that for a lot of people is where the rub comes in. And what I found is that the more that I explored the issue of pay gaps and equal pay issues, I started to piece together things that people maybe had said to me or said about me. And then I'd think, oh, so that might have had an impact on why I wasn't paid as much, or why I wasn't seen as, management material and so on. And the more that I talked to my peers about this, usually women, they had very similar experiences. And then I suddenly became like this go-to person for asking questions about, negotiation and salary and what their rights were, etc. So I definitely fell into it by accident. And in the beginning, I was really terrified of holding these conversations. But as time went on, I realized the importance of having some knowledge and then sharing that with others, because it's only by sharing this knowledge that might have been quite secretive or elitist that you can start to see that ripple of change, which I think is really important for people.
So I'd love that, peeling back of that knowledge and transferring today. Not that you'll be able to do it in detail, but the nuggets of what kind of things do people need to arm themselves with in order to be able to ask the right questions, to be able to have that information. When we're talking about the gaps, the same will be from the types of knowledge they need to be thinking about for investing or financial planning. Thinking about Isaac in terms of literacy as well. But yeah, that's a really good why. So it was like moving from fear to terror. You said terrified. Moving from terrified to actually now some confidence, because you're one of the go-to people for that area, right?
Yeah. And I feel like we're in a time where people are ready for this conversation. I think 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I started doing this, people were not ready. Employers weren't ready, people weren't ready, but things have really shifted in the last sort of 15, 20 years. And this conversation is really coming to the forefront, where people want to have this knowledge so that they can have those conversations, so they can make better financial decisions, whatever those financial decisions look like.
Beautiful. Next, what's your why?
Okay, can I go?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I think my I don't know if it's by accident or if it's by nature, but I think I grew up with a single mom. So when I got to the university, there have been times when she complained about financial issues. She doesn't have money for that. She doesn't have money for this. So I decided that nah, that's not the kind of life we should be living. So that's how I started reading a lot of, I go to the library to take financial literacy books. I read a lot of Rich Dad Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, and all of these books. And so I started doing that. I started reading all of these books just to get a lot of information on how to set myself up financially, so that I don't end up complaining like my mom every time we don't have money, every time we don't have money. Yeah, so that is how it started. It all started for me. And so I started taking course in financial literacy, started chartering in economics, just so I can gain a lot of knowledge when it comes to finances. And so I was able to build myself up and also gain more knowledge on what to do in order to earn more, because I realized that there's no way, it's inevitable for us to not spend. So we all always spend, but we have to find ways to always earn. That is the most important aspect. So that is what I was focused on. I was focused on earning, not more focused on spending. Because for spending, we will always spend. So I have to find ways, streams of income, so that I can make sure that no matter how I spend, I still make a lot of income, or I still earn. Yeah, so this is how it started for me. So, and then I came up with an NGO to also train young ones after me, and also go to rural communities to train women and children about financial literacy.
Oh, children,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I realized that when it comes to children, at an early stage, we didn't know what financial literacy is. So I use myself, for instance, I didn't know what financial literacy was until I got to the university. So I realized that it was very important that we go to the grassroots, and if we're able to start with the children before they get to university or high school, then they will be grounded financially and know how to make the right decision when it comes to money. Yeah, so that is how we started.
So your why is a matter of your environment. If you look at Arlen Hamilton, the story that I told at the beginning, you were very much self-taught, reading those books, single parent family, and it also just shows the dynamic. And this is the one that I wanted to bring in. It isn't just about gender, right? You've got people with low social mobility that might come from low-income households who might have been the first that went to university. You might not have any, clue, but how do you become self-taught? These are the aspects, and you go to a very good seed, and I could see Karen going, yeah, which was, why isn't this a subject in schools? Because we're all talking, and there is a big need in the professional environment because it's never too late, as I'm sure Christina's about to tell us. But actually, we need to go to the source, and it should be. I mean, I know with my kids, I mean, they know compound interest savings at 12 and 13. So yes, I teach them, but you know, they can do algebra. She's doing Pythagoras theorem at 13, but she's not doing taxes and so forth in school. I know hopefully that will come, but she does it at home. So it's super interesting and amazing in terms of your why and your curiosity and grit that has led you to educate yourself, but then go back with your NGO and educate others, right? Because we're talking about it, it can be at many sections of society. So kudos, Isaac. But last but not least, Christina's just come back from divorce, and she's been telling me lots of stuff hot off the press. But what was your why that now has got you there?
Yeah, first of all, let me say that I appreciate so much that everyone in this round gives back so much to the community, and we're all so aligned on making it more accessible, right? So thank you for all your efforts. And for me, I want to break a stigma, because yesterday I went to a networking event on for women in finance, and they also did ask who has invested yet. And people always think that people in finance, the finance professionals, are investing their money. They know everything about investing and market. No, not the case. Exactly, like Karen says, right? You know.
Yeah.
So imagine if you work for a bank, only the people that really work with the clients, they have any knowledge, and the 80-90% in the back, they don't necessarily. So it's also about self-education, self-accountability, etc. So it was a bit similar for me, and I hear already my ex-boss and role model, Mara, who writes amazing parental parental courses and books, in my head saying she also started too late. You know, we discussed this. We started also way too late. And you're a finance professional, right? People assume you started like Karen with 21. It's not the case. So I moved to Hong Kong. I cashed out all my pension from Switzerland. And this was the moment where for me it started, oh my God, this is your pension. What do you do with this money? You know, you have to have a strategy. And this is, so I was like 30, and this is where my fully fledged investment strategy started. And after living in Hong Kong for a few years, you know, my friends, roughly the same age, we all had some money. It was expat people, mostly expat women. I have a lot of female groups. And then they're like, Christina, you're a professional. Now I have some savings. You know, what do we do with our money? And this question came up more and more, and now developed into Her Financial Freedom company, running these courses.
That's amazing. I am sorry, I have got messages from people that they cannot get on. We do have a technical error, so we are live and we'll try and fix, but we will keep going on because people can listen to the pre-recording. But it's very nice of people notifying me. When I text, it says that you are live. So we will continue, and then I will try and fix this. But so I think your why, as we were trying to as I was trying to say before, but for me, one of your key impacts is taking it down from this elitism to spreading it to everyone. But it is, again, your environment and your lived experience when you were abroad, right?
Exactly. That's what we usually see, and I'm sure Karen can nod the head and agree on this, like when life transitions happen, right? So for the maybe a bit older generation, it's unfortunately often very late. Okay, they are close to retirement, or something happens in their private life, like a divorce. Actually, the main wealth transfer is also through the hands of women. So women live longer than men. So men inherit to the women. You know, when these life changes happen, and then in the situation where you really don't want to deal with money, then it's like, oh my God, what actually do I do with this money? And often it's not the right time to now get into the details of learning, financial education, etc. You have other worries at these moments, right? So we want to really prepare the women to take matters into their own hand before something happens, and not wait until a divorce, an inheritance, like something occurs, and you feel the need to finally get into it. So how can we reach women that are a bit like younger, Just yesterday night, I met another entrepreneur. She's 53, and she said, I wish I had started 20 years earlier. And I have many friends in my environment that are now going through divorce. Children are a bit older. You know, things happen. And I wish I had taken care of this earlier.
Yeah.
But it's never too late, right? I mean, the compound interest in that way, but it's start now, not later.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, Christina, having looked after hundreds of women and gone through financial reviews with them, so many women have money in cash. So many women. So you're not, you know, in terms of investing, yeah, absolutely. Take one little step. But I've seen so many women have cash compared to men. Yeah.
And hi, Priska, thank you for telling me that no one can actually join. So that means I've put the link on the main live stream. So hopefully everybody can see. It's good to have friends that tell you there's a technical issue.
Thanks.
So I think when people say so many women have the problem and you've got cash, the problem with the cash though is that you've also got inflation. So just having the cash isn't enough. And I think, Christina, you talked about, well, you know, is your money even working hard for you? Let's kind of go there in terms of the next piece. That was your why, but there's so kind of, what does that mean? What do you offer? If that was your experience, what is it that you're bringing to the table that overcomes it for people? Christina.
You're asking me, yeah. I thought about, okay, what are the do's and don'ts, right? Like, what are the main 3 things you really should do? And it always comes down to the same answer. Like, I cannot find a better word, but start. Start now. And it really sounds silly, but people always think, oh, I need to be wealthy to get started with investing. But it's like, okay, I only go in the gym once I have a 6-pack. That's not going to happen. So you start with investing, you pick, you know, maybe some Instagram influencers, some people that you trust, like me or Karen, to work with them. You talk about it with girlfriends, with other friends, with your family. You don't need to talk numbers, but you say, hey, what's the latest investment that you did? Or, hey, how are you ensuring that your lifestyle is secured in retirement? You know, what measures did you take? Who is your broker? Who's your advisor? What are you doing that now everything is like on the highest levels? Are you going out? Are you staying in? Like, you can ask a lot of general questions to your environment without needing to ask, okay, so what is your wealth, you know, to open up the conversation. So start getting into it, educate yourself, invest small amounts, try to not, you know, I've never invested anything, but now crypto is a hype, so I'm potentially going into crypto. Maybe you start with like some rather more plain vanilla, you know, exchange traded funds, ETFs, diversify your risk, don't jump on trends, immediately build a stable core. I always call it the core. Build a portfolio that grows over time in small steps and see what happens. And then learn while you go and speak to people, right? Learn from experts, maybe influencers. We have amazing sources now, YouTube channels. I have a community as well. Karen is there to support, like.
So actually what you're talking about is, I mean, the first step is to come out of your comfort zone, because when you talk, when you start by saying, talking and building up trust, even by having those conversations, you're saying, come out of the comfort zone first, educate yourself. And you could even start small by investing. That will depend on your portfolio. I think Karen, probably your ad, or Michelle, it depends on your or Isaac, your long-term goals in the end in terms of your, you know, your risk portfolio. But you can start to play and look at what diversity of portfolio, you know, is right for you. But those are some of the steps. You need to come slightly outside your comfort zone if it's something you've never done before. And by opening it up, it's a bit like Misha was talking about transparency and knowledge, because that knowledge is power. But I also think the lack of transparency, you know, also keeps some people in power, right? So those would be your steps. And you and your community, you don't only have the community though. The videos are on the community, or are the videos that you have in terms of proper education separate?
So what you're summarized it so nicely, right? I think I realize now 60 to 70% is actually the mental work, this confidence, get out of the comfort zone, take the first steps. And therefore we have a community. We wanted to create a safe space where women can learn from each other, like uplift each other, but give some confidence in the topics, right? Exchange. And then obviously, once you feel like, yes, now it's the time to really take, let's say, a more professional approach or a more holistic approach to it, you learn in my 60 days course, for example, really from A to Z, everything that you need to know. And I guide you through it, right? Like, and then afterwards you work with experts or not, but it's your decision and you make a conscious decision because now you know. So I'm not saying it's black or white. It's more like get started, like you said, grow this confidence. And then you can decide which approach you take once you have collected that, let's say, professional broken down knowledge.
I'm interested to hear from Isaac because we've got like one end of the spectrum actually, and then Isaac, where do you start? What's your, because you've literally come up from the grassroots, strap those boots, and from an NGO perspective, is it a similar starting point in terms of building confidence to move into the discomfort or even talking finances, or what is it that you do?
Okay, so from my point, so I one thing that I realized was anytime we talk about financial literacy, financial freedom, people start thinking about money. Their first thought is money. How can I make more money? How can I make more money? But then we change the perspective a little bit, and we are saying that when we talk about financial literacy, talk about financial freedom, you want to think about value. How valuable are you? What skills do you have? Because that is what is going to bring the money. So we are mostly focused on how can you build yourself, how can you gain that skills, because we realize that in our country, in our economy, it's even difficult to get one job. But there are a lot of employers who are also looking for employees, but because of the skills gap, and there are a lot of people who are also looking for consultancy and all of that, but they don't get it because of the kind of skills they are looking for. So we decided that when we talk about financial literacy, we are talking about how you can develop yourself, how you can build yourself, how you can gain different skills so that um, you can actually create that stream of income. So, for instance, let's say myself, I can do graphic designing, I do digital skills, I do AI. So, all of this I consult for people, for schools, and all of that. And I do my main work as a communication and digital skills expert in my organization. Yeah, because I take the time to learn, I take the time to develop all of these skills, go for skills training so that I can use these skills to make the money. Now, I also realize that the reason why we need to develop these skills is because the value is the only thing that you have that can keep on making the money for you. So, for instance, if I should get into an organization that pays me a lot and then I lose my job, how do I get my job back? It is my value that is going to get me that job back. So if you're able to build your value and you're able to develop that skills and you have the skills, everybody will go after you. You don't even, you have that independence to decide to leave any organization at any time. You leave any relationship at any time. You leave any friendship at any time because you have that value. No matter what happened to you, you can still make money at any time.
So I think it's interesting because I think there's maybe two going. The two are both needed, right? Because you can create more value with the thing. But the interesting thing that you're talking about there is actually where I think the global north are getting, because one of the sessions we do is portfolio career, and I see more and more people having more than one job, which was never seen in the past. But then in economies where they have more than one job, and in this, I will say, when I first moved to Switzerland 17 years ago, in the States, people did have in some areas more than one job. So there are pockets. But if you think about Africa as a continent and you think about the amount of young people and you think about those skills, rethinking your value and those upstream of where that money comes in and how you bring that in and how you have more stability and understanding your value financially coming in is another lens to which to bring the power. If that was, and I want to connect the dots for people, the power for the people listening, if you then connect that with, I guess, what Christina, Karen, and Michelle will mention, because how much you put into pension, how much you then look at your diversity of your portfolio, and you ring fence, that bit's to pay my bills, that bit's to save, but the freedom also comes with that padding of what you make with the money, that you have. So I think there's both bits, but it's certainly for sure, Isaac. It's a very important what as well. So that, because I see it more and more of people with more than one income the whole psychological contract has changed between employer and employee. I don't know, Michelle, if you weigh in on that, because you work with a lot of employers.
Yeah.
But there's that equity in terms of pay, but there is this psychological contract and having many incomes as well.
Yeah, and I think if COVID showed us anything, is that financial resilience is important. And I think that for a lot of people that maybe, like you said, there was that invisible contract of, I've got a job, everything's okay, the world takes over, and it's it takes, and it's the same, I go to work, I get paid, and then suddenly COVID came along and upended so much. And I think that feeling of safeness, I think, was eroded for a lot of people. And I liked what Isaac was talking about, especially about the aspect of being able to leave situations because you have that financial resilience, you have that financial freedom. And I think that's really important. And not only that, but I think also we're in an era where there's so much opportunity. There are so many ways to make money that our parents, and maybe even us when we were small, didn't know. Like, I have an almost 12-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I'm well aware that by the time they both enter the world of work, they will be doing jobs or making money using skills that I can't even comprehend. And so I do think that is part of this thing about financial freedom, or is not being stuck in this idea of the only way to make money is with a traditional employer, whatever traditional employer looks like where you are. But there are other avenues and other opportunities for you to build that financial resilience for yourself. And I think the flip side of that for employers is that this is what you're up against. You're up against people who do want to have that portfolio career, who do want to work a traditional job, but maybe will want to do something on the side, and they might be happy with that balance forever, or it might tip in another way and they decide, I'm leaving the job and I'm going full in with the side hustle. And so I think that, coupled with all of the kind of pay gaps legislation that's coming, all the different pay transparency that's coming, it's a wake-up call for organizations, like, big organizations in the way that they operate. And it's a wake-up call for them to actually embrace that transparency around how they make decisions around pay, because people are then making decisions about whether they want to stay with you or not, whether they want to go to your competitors, or whether they want to ask for more money, or whether they just are going to go down a different route and follow their passion and make money that way. So I think what's happening is there's a lot of opportunity for people to make money in lots of different ways. And so that goes hand in hand with that curiosity around, well, how does the world of money actually work, as opposed to how have I been told it's going to work for me? And I think that is the space that we are in. And there's opportunities on both sides for employers to be much more transparent. There's opportunities for individuals to, read more books, listen to more podcasts, join more different communities, and so they can make much more informed decisions about what they decide to do with their career.
What knowledge do you help or impart with them, though, to get that transparency when they're in that position, right? One of the things for me, I always negotiate my contracts so I could have other roles, but from a pay perspective, what knowledge do you impart to them that they should be? When you introduced like your kind of why, you were saying actually it was all about arming yourself with this knowledge and transparency. What would you be saying to the people out there?
For individuals or for companies?
For individuals, actually.
Yeah, I think for me that the kind of biggest breakthrough and the biggest hurdle was to understand that what an organization puts on the table in front of you is not necessarily everything that is on offer and everything that could be offered. And also organizations, well, good HR people, reward people, they expect the back and forth when you're having that conversation about your salary or your benefits, etc. But so many people don't do that, either because they think they're not allowed to, or it's never occurred to them that they could. So I think just knowing that you have permission to question what is being offered to you. Like, I've lost count the number of times that somebody would say to me, oh, the salary says this, so I should ask for exactly that or a little bit less. And I'll say, the salary says that because that's what they think would be enough to get you. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that is the value of the skills that you have. So to go in with it and with an open curiosity and not necessarily take everything at face value. I think if you have that attitude, you would be surprised at what are the additional things that you can gain, rather than settling because you think this is what's on offer, this is what I have to take.
And I think for some people that they don't know what they should be offering, although with the Equal Pay Act, that's the transparency of the benchmark or what's there will be there. But what would you advise for them to even look at, to have an idea of? Well, I've always thought that 150K was enough, but if actually
Yes.
Any guidance? I mean, it kind of, you're talking also, as Christina, like you come slightly out of the comfort zone because you're actually pushing back on what you might be comfortable. So yes, that salary is fine, when actually they're only offering you what they think you're going to take versus pushing the boundaries. But where could they go?
Listen, the thing is that there are so many different sources of information and so many platforms where people are starting to openly share what they earn, what their benefits get. I remember on Twitter, it was a few years ago, there was a university professor who was leaving her role, and she just put out there and said, this is the role that I'm leaving. This is what I was paid. I hope that this was helpful. And it started a huge conversation because people kept coming on saying, oh, you earned much more than me. I earned more than that. I got this in bonuses and equity. And the conversation really mushroomed. So the thing that I always think is that if you are asking yourself those questions, I can guarantee you someone else has an answer for it and is probably sharing it somewhere. So like I said, Glassdoor. I think there's one called, is it Transparency Street or Salary Transparency Street? There's tons of books on this now, lots of podcasts. There will be communities, but it's like that thing of, if you don't know something exists, until you know something exists and you start going looking for it, you will find those pockets of information, and then it will open up like a whole world where people are having these conversations. So it's about being curious enough to go and find those answers, and somebody somewhere will be talking about this.
And don't settle for what they think you're going to be offered. So I'm going to, Karen, I'm kind of going to push a little bit on bringing a little bit of it together, in that I know that you do financial planning, and also think if someone has a portfolio career, they're now going to have bits everywhere. It's like a spider.
Exactly, yeah. That's why I specialise with expats. Yeah.
So you've got pension pots everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Thinking of myself, you've got pension pots everywhere.
Yeah.
Where are you going to retire? Where are these things? The life of work is changing. It has already changed, right? You've got people like Isaac and me and Michelle who have like 4 different, different types of income, right? More. How does one then, what do you then do? So you've already kind of said your why, and I know it's for the female, but you've got people like Isaac and I. What that you can think about doing that actually is going to bring that financial equity and freedom into your life?
Yeah. Well, that's why I created my 6-step program. That's why I set up my business, to help people understand what they've got in place. Because we have so many, as you say, challenges.
With popping your mic or to another one, or is it? I've got a little bit of a. Yeah, but it's got a little bit of a, and it wasn't there before, was it? There wasn't that.
Can you hear me now?
I can, but it's very vibrationary. If not, we'll continue with it, and it will.
Let me just Let me
Oh,
just
that's
check
perfect.
my.
No,
It's
that's
okay.
perfect. This is much better. Yeah,
Yeah.
go on.
Okay. Well, that's why I developed my six-step program, financial empowerment program, and what I talked about earlier, based on what people are passionate about, what your values are, and just making sure that you're in a good position. So it's a personalized approach, a one-to-one, because everyone's circumstances are different. So we'll take one step at a time.
Yep.
But the point is, it's holistic for you. It's, first of all, what pensions do you have in place? What state pensions would you have if you're in Europe, would you be entitled to? What level of income would you get? What kind of investments are you invested in, if any? What kind of returns are you getting? So I'm looking at what people have in place already. And then we'll go through the next step, looking at what their lifestyle expenditure is, what their life plans are, whether they're looking at setting up a business. I have women, for example, that maybe, they want to spend a bit more time with the children. They want to work with 80%. Does that work for me financially? Have I got enough money to be able to do that? So it's very much a one-to-one tailored approach by looking at what people's situations current situation is and what it's likely to be at retirement if they don't make any changes or everything stays the same. Now, we know that's not the case. Nothing stays the same. So what income, what lifestyle do you enjoy? Are you somebody that has a modest lifestyle? Are you somebody that lives excessively? I've got people, that are in debt, so I help, what is the best strategy to help them with their debt management, and then look at a strategy for medium term to save. When people don't realize they're paying 20% on a credit card, or does it make sense to pay my mortgage off? So there's no one solution for everybody. Everybody's different. Everybody's lifestyles are different. So yeah, I agree with Christine when we talk about investing. I started at 21. I didn't know what I was doing. All I heard was that my colleagues were investing in HSBC stocks.
It's all right.
And I thought, well, okay, yeah, I'll do that. I didn't even look at it for 10 years. I had no idea how it's performing. I just thought, okay, at least I'm not spending that money. I'm putting some money away. And compound interest, the power of compound interest is amazing if you continue to do that. So it is, what can you do now? Start small. You don't have to understand, go to your bank. Yes, they're probably more expensive. Yes, you can probably look at other solutions along the line. Don't delay. Time is your asset. Start investing now. So, and then we can look at everything.
You said 6 steps. So one is, what you have, pensions, investments. So 2 is understanding your lifestyle, because we live within our means. What do we want? 3 is then looking at the retirement.
I will look at budget.
4, 5, and 6.
So step 1, let me just recap quickly. It's I look at the life planning, not financial planning, not getting the money to work harder. It's what's important to you. What are your goals? What are your aspirations? So we look at that, and that's how we base the financial planning. We're there to live life to the full. So then the next step would be collating all the financial data. I would suggest that people do that now. Get all your financial data. What are your assets? What are your current assets? What liabilities do you have? What protections do you have in place? What life insurance do you have if anything happened to you? Who's reliant on you? Have you got a will in place? So those are all the information that we get together. Step 3 would be looking at the budget. So understanding what your lifestyle is. Some people spend way too much money. Some people spend just enough. And some people don't spend anything because they have that fear mindset. So it's looking at what income do you have? What is that lifestyle? So you can continue to live your life. You're never worried about running out of money, that you've got enough. What can you do? So we'll look at everything that you've got in place, what potential returns you've got on your investments if you are investing, and then we'll find if there's a gap or not. Is there a gap? That could be a target income of retiring at 65, or maybe you say, actually, I want to retire at 55. How much do I need to save? So I've had clients that, before they had children, they saved everything because they wanted to be in a position to maybe spend a bit of time with the children and be financially ahead of that. And then there's those people that have delayed it. It's never too late to start anything.
So is that whole bit up front actually though just around collecting, what you have? Unfortunately,
Yes.
even my bank got rid of that function, which I found extremely great for just seeing, where my spend was. But it was the basics. But then coming on to what you really want. I mean, I know that the retirement age has been put up in many countries, like 70.
Yeah.
In Denmark, my friends are saying to me, and who the heck wants to really? But some people might have to work for 70, and we're going into pension poverty possibly if they're
exactly.
not.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we never know. When you're looking at your budget, again, people surprisingly think, oh, how much money am I wasting on that? I'd rather go on holiday or, go and have trips. So it's, where do you want that money to go? So you should always create a budget for saving for your future. Try to do at least 10% of your net salary, invest it, and create experiences and enjoy life, and don't waste it on, retail therapy. We've all been there, we've all overspent. But again, does it really give joy momentary? It's about creating memories and living life now. So yeah, that's why I created my plan, because nobody looks at that. Nobody.
Okay, I mean, so I think that makes sense. I want to come around with some do's and don'ts. I'm just going to put some reality ones in for me, and just to for me, do's and don'ts were like, where's the cheapest? Because running these investments for me, if I go to my bank, it's more expensive. But like, where can I invest, and what's the cheapest for someone to run that fund? I think it's a little. Really do your homework. And for me, I've saved a lot of money in terms of where do I do that, and having more of a understanding what risk you are. So having more of a global fund. That would be my number one. My other one in terms of do's is totally echoing on your start early. I bought my first house when I was 22. So anyone out there young, and I know it's super hard now, by the way. But I think my property, when you say is your money working hard for you, Christina, my gosh, my properties have worked really hard for me. And I think it's like that portfolio of assets. We haven't really covered property, here today. A whip round to do's and don'ts, because we're running out of time. What would be your do's and don'ts?
My do's and don'ts would be to not assume that there's fairness built into whatever your pay packet looks like. Don't make that assumption. You need to investigate it so that you have that knowledge and know that you are being paid fairly, that you are accessing as much benefits as you're entitled to. But I would also say, do assume that it's okay for you to ask questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question. You're not being greedy or rude by asking these questions, because I know that that's a big pushback that a lot of women experience in workplaces when they try to have these conversations. So I'd say they are my two big ones.
Thank you. Gems. Do's and don'ts? Christina?
I would say ask questions. And I think this ties in so much also with you, Michelle, because in the end, it's the same thing, right? Ask questions. Dare to ask, because we have so many negative tied emotions around finances. And because you were asking, Chantel, about, where could I find the perfect ETF, for example, as a highly diversified fund or theme exchange traded fund, there's amazing platforms out there. For example, ETFinfo.com or extraetf.com.
Yep.
Super easy, international. Like, I have no affiliation or something with them, but it's so good. Like, perfect overview. You can filter for everything that you are looking for. And it really makes it very easy to find a highly diversified exchange traded fund, for example.
Do your homework and you can find that. Great tip. Isaac, Karen?
Okay, we'll just go. Yeah, so I think if you shared everything, so I will just talk about smart debt. So if possible, let's avoid taking on debt. And if you must also do that, you must also take a look at the interest rate that comes with it. And finally, we need to keep track of every penny that we spend, so that we can always make sure that we are sticking to budget, so we don't overspend.
You are keeping us humble. Yes, absolutely. Because in reality, some people living paycheck to paycheck. It comes in with what Karen was saying about the interest rates, but really you have to keep an eye. Karen, I think you're up. Do's, don'ts.
Yeah, so do's: collect all your financial data. Don't take the first step today. That's the number one. Be proactive. Prioritize what needs your attention right now. What's keeping you up at night? Seek advice when you need it, guidance when you need it. Don't procrastinate. So, yeah, okay, if you want to look around, do your homework, but if that's, help stopping you from investing, go set something up simple in your bank and then start doing some researching. Join Christina's course. Do something that can help you do something today. And then it's just remember, it's little steps, one little baby step at a time. You don't need it to be overwhelming, one step at a time. So that's my biggest advice, is one step at a time, collect your financial data and prioritize what needs to be done now.
I think I'm going to put Christina's course in the comments, because I know there was some difficulty getting on, but I think people will be very interested in this. You'll just see to the right, this was really a conversation inviting you to our table, but to really go into whichever lens made sense. If you wanted more support or help, you'll see Karen's details on here and her LinkedIn. Christina's actually probably your course is on her financialfreedom.net as well, right? Karen is your Karen JoeThomas.com. Isaac, keeping this very humble. I only had your LinkedIn, but on your LinkedIn, I think you might put something on your AI literacy as well. And Michelle, you are like an awesome force with companies, covering more than even what we covered on here. I know Michelle's worked for a long time in terms of equal pay, but there is the lens of the companies working with the companies. But I know people come with you to you for individuals as well. I thank you so much for joining us, and we are going to end stream. Everything will be on the comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.